Have you ever walked away from a moment thinking, was she into me, or am I just imagining it? That lingering doubt, that gnawing uncertainty, it can follow you for hours, days, even longer. Most men have been there. You feel a connection, a spark, a shift in the air, but you second guess it. You doubt yourself, and when you look back, the moment is gone. You're left wondering what could have happened if you'd only known for sure. That question, was I enough, hurts more than rejection. Because it keeps you trapped in the unknown, afraid to act, afraid to believe. Attraction is rarely loud. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And the problem isn't that you're not attractive. It's that no one ever taught you how to hear the whisper. You've been told to look for bold, obvious signs. But real desire, especially from a woman, often hides behind subtle signals. Why? Because vulnerability is terrifying. Because society teaches women to play it cool, to guard their hearts, to avoid being seen as too forward. And yet, the signs are there. Real signs. Quiet, consistent, powerful signs. You just need to learn how to notice them. You've probably missed opportunities you never even knew existed, not because you lacked the potential, but because you didn't understand the language being spoken. That ends now. You're not here by accident. You're here because something inside you is tired of guessing, tired of wondering. You want clarity, you want confidence. You want to walk into any room and finally know, not guess, not hope, but know when someone sees you, truly sees you. That's not a fantasy, that's a skill, and every skill can be learned. The truth is, most women won't come right out and say, I'm attracted to you, but their minds and bodies will say it anyway, if you know how to listen. If you stay with this, you'll learn how to recognize the psychological cues that women unconsciously give off when they're drawn to someone. These are not games, they're real signals, grounded in human behavior. Once you know them, they become impossible to unsee. You'll stop chasing validation and start standing in awareness. You'll finally get out of your head and into the moment. This isn't just about romance, it's about how you show up in the world. It's about seeing yourself the way others already do. When you know these signs, you stop shrinking, you stop second-guessing, you stop letting hesitation steal your chances. Confidence doesn't come from being loud, it comes from being certain. Certain in yourself, certain in what's real. So if you've ever felt invisible, overlooked, or unsure of where you stand, this is your turning point. Because once you learn to see the signs, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Stay with this. What you're about to hear will change the way you move through the world and the way the world responds to you. Have you ever wondered why someone who seemed interested suddenly pulled back? Why one moment felt electric, only to be followed by confusion or silence? It's easy to assume you did something wrong, but often it has nothing to do with mistakes. It has everything to do with how attraction is expressed, and more importantly, how it's hidden. Most women are not taught to pursue directly. They're taught to protect themselves, to observe, to feel, to assess whether it's safe, emotionally, mentally, physically, to reveal interest. So they use signals, soft, often invisible signals. And if you've missed them, it's not your fault. You were never shown how to see what wasn't meant to be obvious. Understanding this changes everything. Because once you realize that a woman's interest can be quiet, you stop misreading silence as disinterest. You stop assuming that unless someone is chasing you, they're not into you. That belief has robbed too many men of confidence. It has pushed them into overthinking, hesitation, and missed connections. But here's the truth. When a woman feels drawn to you, her instincts will try to show it, while her fears try to hide it. And that inner conflict, that push and pull, that's why her signals are layered, subtle, protective. And that's exactly why you need to become more aware, not more aggressive. Your presence can shift the energy in a room, even if she doesn't speak to you, even if she avoids eye contact. You may still be affecting her in ways she doesn't yet understand. And that power doesn't come from charm or strategy. It comes from authenticity, from showing up as you are, with clarity, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. That's when women notice. That's when they feel safe to signal back. But if you're trapped in insecurity, you'll miss it. You'll chase the loud signs while the real ones slip right past you. This is about more than reading cues. This is about rewiring how you see connection. It's about stepping into your life with sharper awareness and deeper self-trust. Imagine what becomes possible when you stop waiting to be chosen and start recognizing when you already are. You no longer doubt your gut. You no longer dismiss your intuition. You no longer walk away from moments wondering, what if? You walk forward with eyes open, grounded in truth, present to what is. Every man who rises above uncertainty begins by seeing what others overlook. He learns the silent language. He trains his focus. He pays attention not just to what's said, but to what's felt. And because of that, he connects authentically, powerfully, without pretending, without chasing, without fear. That's not just confidence, that's liberation. And once you learn this language, once you truly understand why women guard their attraction, you'll stop seeing rejection where there is none. You'll stop missing chances you were meant to take. You'll begin to move through life with a calm certainty that invites attention without demanding it. And that is where everything changes. There's a moment, quiet and brief, when someone looks at you just a second too long. It's not an accident. It's not meaningless. It's a window into something deeper, a signal that most people never catch. Eye contact, when it lingers, is one of the most powerful cues of attraction that exists. Not because it's loud or obvious, but because it bypasses everything else. Words, roles, pretense, and goes straight to emotion. In those seconds, something primal happens. A connection is made, even if nothing is said. And when a woman finds you attractive, her eyes will often betray her silence. Her glance may flicker away quickly, but if it keeps returning, there's a reason. This isn't about looking for stares. It's about noticing the moments that feel charged, different, weighted. When her gaze meets yours and you feel time slow down, don't rush past it. Don't dismiss it. Those are the moments when her walls start to lower, when her instinct overrides her caution. The eyes are not just windows to the soul, they're mirrors. They reflect how someone feels about you before they're even ready to admit it to themselves. And the more comfortable she becomes, the more freely that eye contact will flow. But this only works if you're present enough to notice. Most people miss it because they're too distracted, too lost in thought, too worried about how they're being perceived. But when you ground yourself, when you breathe, settle, and tune in, you begin to notice how someone looks at you changes when attraction is real. Her pupils may dilate, her expression may soften. Her eyes may search yours with curiosity, vulnerability, or nervous excitement. These aren't coincidences. They are the body's way of reaching out, even when words hold back. Attraction doesn't start with touch. It starts with awareness, with presence. And when a woman keeps looking your way, especially when she thinks you're not watching, she's showing interest in the safest way she knows. She's watching to see if you notice, to see how you respond, to see if you're the kind of man who pays attention, who sees what others miss. And when you do, when you acknowledge her glance with calm, grounded confidence, you create safety, you create possibility. That is how connection begins. Not through performance, but through perception. Not by forcing attention, but by being aware enough to see what's already there. If you've ever felt invisible, know this. It's not always that people don't see you. Sometimes they're just waiting for permission to show they do. The world is full of stolen glances and unfinished stories. When you become the man who notices, you don't just change the way others see you. You change the way you see yourself. And from that shift, everything becomes clearer, stronger, real. Keep your eyes open. You're being seen more than you realize. There's a quiet phenomenon that happens when two people connect on a deeper level. Without realizing it, their bodies begin to reflect each other. A shared rhythm forms, subtle, unspoken, instinctive. This is called mirroring. And it's one of the clearest psychological signs of attraction. It's not done consciously. It's not a tactic. It's human nature revealing itself. When a woman begins to mirror your movements, your posture, your tone, it means her subconscious is aligning with you. Her defenses are lowering. Her comfort is growing. Her body is saying, I feel safe with you. I feel drawn to you. You might cross your arms and moments later she does the same. You might lean in slightly and she follows. You shift your tone, your pace, your energy. And she mirrors it like a reflection. This isn't coincidence, it's resonance. It's the way the nervous system responds when it senses connection. Her brain is syncing with yours, and it's not something she can fake. It's a response rooted in trust, interest, and curiosity. When someone mirrors you, even in small, barely noticeable ways, it's because their mind is attuning to yours. That's not manipulation. That's magnetism. But to notice it, you need to slow down. You need to stop focusing on impressing and start observing. Attraction isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it shows up in the softest alignment of movement and space. That's where confidence is built, not by trying to control the outcome, but by learning how to read reality as it is. And when you recognize that someone is matching your energy, You understand something powerful. You're affecting them. Your presence is shifting their state. That's influence at its purest form. Quiet, calm, real. You don't need to speak first or take center stage. You just need to be aware. Because when you're truly grounded, you can sense the feedback loop of interest happening in real time. You feel the mutual rhythm forming. You feel the exchange of attention, the invisible dance of emotional chemistry. And in those moments, your self-worth is no longer dependent on being chosen. It's revealed through your ability to notice that you already are. This is where your strength as a man expands, not by pushing, but by perceiving, by recognizing that connection doesn't always come from pursuit. Sometimes it begins with presence, with clarity, with noticing that her smile mirrors yours, that her posture relaxes when you speak, that her laughter matches your rhythm. These are not accidents. They are signs. Signs that who you are is enough, that your energy is being met, that something real is unfolding beneath the surface. Mirroring is nature's way of saying, I see you, I feel you, I'm with you. When you become attuned to it, you stop chasing approval and start receiving truth. And from that truth, real confidence grows. Not from trying to fit in, but from knowing that you already belong. You don't need to force connection. You just need to feel when it's already there. When a woman is drawn to you, she will find reasons to be near you. Not always obviously, not always loudly, but consistently. Attraction has a gravitational pull. It doesn't just stay in the mind. It shows up in behavior. It shows up in movement. It shows up in presence. She may linger in spaces you're in. She might choose the seat close to yours when others are available. She might show up in places you frequent without making it seem intentional. But deep down, something in her is choosing proximity, choosing closeness, choosing to stay within your orbit because being near you feels good, feels safe, feels right. This is one of the most overlooked signs of interest. Because most people expect attraction to come with declarations, with boldness, with clarity. But the truth is, desire often moves through subtle choices. A path walked a little slower, a moment stretched a little longer, a decision to stay when she could have walked away, and those choices matter. They reveal where her energy wants to go. Because when someone values your presence, they find a way to be in it. Not for attention, not for convenience, but for connection. Your awareness must grow sharper. Most people are too distracted to notice how others adjust their movements around them, but if you're calm and observant, you'll begin to see it. She starts conversations that don't need to happen. She offers help without being asked. She orbits your space with a kind of quiet intentionality. That's not coincidence. That's interest disguised as spontaneity. That's her way of creating opportunities for something to unfold without putting herself at risk of rejection. Because emotional safety is everything, and if she feels drawn to you but unsure of how you feel, she'll let her proximity do the talking. This is where your power lies, not in chasing, but in noticing. When you begin to see how people move around you, how they position themselves near you, how they look for reasons to stay connected to your presence, everything changes. You stop interpreting silence as absence. You start interpreting patterns. You realize that the human heart speaks long before the mouth does. And when someone values your presence, they won't always say it, but they will show it. Confidence is not just built through being wanted. It's built through recognizing when you are. It's built through awareness, through presence, through emotional intelligence. And when you start noticing who shows up, who stays close, who moves toward you when they have other options, you unlock a deeper truth about your worth. You begin to trust the signals, not the noise. You begin to feel when you are being chosen, not through words, but through action. And that quiet understanding creates a foundation no one can shake. You don't need to chase what already wants to be near you. You just need to stop running past what's right in front of you. Attraction reveals itself in energy, and sometimes that energy shows up in the most universal language we all understand, laughter. Not the kind that's polite or forced, but the kind that lingers, that carries warmth, that arrives just a little too easily when you speak. When a woman is genuinely drawn to you, her laughter comes alive. It becomes more frequent, more open, more real. Not because everything you say is brilliant, but because her mind and body are relaxed in your presence, because being around you lifts her. And the human response to feeling lifted is laughter. It's joy. It's the release of guarded tension. This kind of laughter isn't just sound. It's a signal, a reflection of emotional safety and genuine interest. It's the nervous system letting down its walls. It's the mind saying, I feel seen, I feel engaged, I want more of this. When she laughs easily and often around you, it's not just flattery, it's connection, it's chemistry. It's her way of telling you without words that your presence shifts her state, that who you are reaches her, that something about you makes her feel alive and she doesn't fully understand why. You may not even be trying to be funny, but that's the power of resonance. When someone is emotionally attuned to you, everything you say is colored by warmth. The bar for humor lowers, not because she's pretending, but because she's tuned in. Her guard is down, her energy is open, her response is amplified, and in those moments her laughter becomes more than just a reaction. It becomes a mirror of how she feels in your presence, a mirror of the effect you have without even trying. But you must not miss it. Too often men ignore the signals because they're looking for something louder, more direct. But real attraction rarely shouts. It reveals itself in the details, the way she laughs before you even finish a sentence, the way her eyes light up with no effort on your part, the way she tries to keep the conversation going, hoping for another moment that brings her that same joy. That is not coincidence. That is emotional evidence. And it's worth your attention. This is where confidence becomes rooted, not in performance, but in perception. You don't need to be the funniest guy in the room. You need to be the one who creates space for someone to feel free. Free to laugh, free to lean in, free to enjoy herself without pretense. That freedom is rare. And when she finds it in you, she remembers, she returns, she seeks it again. That's the quiet pull of attraction, not from jokes, but from genuine presence. When her laughter stays with you, echoing in your mind, know that something real may have happened. Not because you tried to impress her, but because you made her feel something, something light, something deep, something real. And that's what makes her want to come closer. When something real is building between two people, the body often speaks before the mind is ready. One of the clearest ways this happens is through touch. Not loud, dramatic, or obvious touch, but subtle, intentional moments that seem to slip through without being addressed. A gentle brush of the hand, a brief touch on the shoulder, a playful nudge. These are not meaningless. These are not random. They are deliberate signals wrapped in plausible deniability. They are soft tests of connection. They ask the question without saying the words, "Can I be close to you? Will you meet me here?" A woman who is attracted to you may not always say it, but if she finds ways to initiate light, natural contact, she is speaking through action. She's bridging the gap between distance and closeness. And that decision is rooted in trust. Because touch is vulnerability, even in its smallest form, especially when it's not necessary, especially when it lingers for a moment longer than it should. That's where the truth hides, not in how much she touches, but in why she chooses to in the first place. The space between people carries energy. When attraction is present, that space becomes charged. And in that charge, touch becomes more than physical. It becomes emotional. It becomes symbolic. When a woman reaches out to fix something on your shirt, or lightly bumps your arm while laughing, she's not just acting on impulse. She's creating connection. She's expressing interest in the only way she knows how without exposing herself fully. And that's where your awareness becomes power. Not so you can act out of assumption, but so you can respond with presence, with grounded confidence, with the kind of calm that makes her feel safe to lean in more. But you must stay tuned in. Many miss these signs because they're waiting for permission in the form of words. But attraction often gives permission in the form of actions. When someone touches you when they don't need to, they're stepping over a boundary, one that most people don't cross unless they feel drawn, curious, engaged. It's not always romantic at first. Sometimes it's just comfort. But comfort is the seed of attraction. And if she keeps choosing to close that space again and again, it's not an accident. Your worth doesn't need to be proven by grand moments. It shows up in the small interactions, the ones where someone chooses closeness when distance would be easier. And when you feel that hand brush yours or that quick, light tap as she laughs, recognize what's really being said. I want to be near you. I want to feel your energy. I want to know what happens if I take one step closer. That's not something to question. That's something to see, to trust, to respect. Because when you notice those subtle signals, you no longer doubt if you're wanted. You start to realize you already are. There is a kind of interest that goes deeper than smiles and glances. It lives in curiosity. When a woman feels drawn to you, she won't just talk to fill the silence. She'll ask, not to pass time, but to understand you, to go beneath the surface and explore who you really are. When someone is attracted on more than just a physical level, They crave understanding. They want to know what moves you, what drives you, what you believe in when no one is watching. Those questions are not casual, they're intentional. They come from a place of emotional investment. Attraction begins in chemistry, but it grows in depth. And depth doesn't happen through facts, it happens through truth, through vulnerability, through the kind of questions that don't just skim the surface of your life, but dive into the waters most people are afraid to enter. When she asks about your past, about your values, about what keeps you up at night or what makes you feel alive, she's doing more than making conversation. She's building a bridge. She's giving you space to be seen. And most importantly, she's signaling that she wants to see more than just what's visible. This kind of curiosity cannot be faked. It's not small talk. It doesn't feel like an interview. It feels like presence, like attentiveness, like a quiet hunger to connect beyond appearances. When someone likes what they see, they may compliment it. But when they're drawn to who you are, they ask, they listen, they remember, they circle back. And when a woman starts to open that space for you, it means she's already feeling something she may not have the words for yet. But you must be awake to it. These moments are invitations. They require your honesty, your depth, your willingness to step into the conversation, not just with words, but with presence. Too often, men hold back. They stay surface level, hoping to maintain control, to avoid appearing too eager or too open. But attraction doesn't grow in walls. It grows in windows. When you respond to her curiosity with truth, you give her something real. And real is rare. Real is magnetic. Real is unforgettable. This is how connection deepens. Not through strategies, but through sincerity. Through showing her that what she's seeking is not just skin deep, that you have a mind, a heart, a soul worth discovering. And if she's asking, it means she senses that already. She's reaching out for more of you, not for validation, but for resonance. She wants to know if her instinct is right, if there's more behind the energy she feels when you walk in the room. And when you offer her that depth, you don't just become attractive, you become undeniable. Because truth is what we're all really chasing. And when someone finds it in you, they won't want to look away. When a woman is drawn to you, her words might hold back, but her body rarely does. And sometimes the truth of her attraction isn't in what she says, but in how she positions herself around you. The body doesn't lie. It reacts, aligns, responds in ways even she may not fully notice. One of the most telling signs of this is the way she physically orients herself. Her torso, her feet, her posture, subtle shifts that speak louder than language. Even when she's trying to play it cool, her body will angle toward what it's interested in. It leans in, it opens up, it stays close, even when her words seem neutral. This is human instinct. We turn toward what makes us feel alive. We face what we feel connected to. And when attraction is present, the body seeks alignment. It's not about seduction. It's about comfort, resonance, and curiosity. Her feet might point toward you while her eyes are elsewhere. Her shoulders might square up with yours even while she's pretending to be distracted. These aren't accidental, they're biological truths, subconscious cues, and they matter more than the things you can force or fabricate. What makes this powerful is that it removes the guessing. It gives you a kind of clarity that cuts through the noise. Most men get stuck overanalyzing what was said, replaying a conversation in their mind, searching for a meaning that's not always in the words. But presence, true presence, teaches you to feel the energy in the room, to read the orientation of the body as a language in itself. That kind of awareness isn't about control, it's about alignment with reality. And the more tuned in you are, the less validation you need. You stop asking if you're enough and start noticing when you already are. It's easy to overlook these things when your mind is cluttered with insecurity. But when you're calm, grounded, and present, everything becomes clearer. You see that she's facing you when she doesn't need to, that her posture shifts when you enter the space, that her energy becomes more attentive, more awake, more engaged. These are not empty gestures, they are reflections of emotional gravity. And gravity never lies. This kind of truth isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's silent. But that silence holds a message. It says, I feel something when you're near. It says, I'm listening without speaking. It says, my attention is already yours, even if my words haven't caught up yet. That kind of attention is rare. And if you can recognize it, you don't need to chase it. You don't need to question your worth. You just need to stay rooted in who you are and let the truth of her body language confirm what your instincts already knew. Attraction is not always loud, but it's always honest. And when someone turns towards you again and again, it's not just interest. It's alignment. And alignment is the beginning of everything real. Sometimes what reveals the most isn't what someone does when you're together, it's how they react when your attention turns elsewhere. When a woman is secretly attracted to you, her emotions don't always stay calm when she feels competition. She may not say it, she may not even show it clearly, but jealousy has a way of slipping through the cracks. It might come out as a subtle shift in tone, a sudden coldness, a playful jab disguised as a joke. It's not cruelty. It's not immaturity. It's vulnerability, masked in 1,000 small behaviors. Because when someone desires you but hasn't said it aloud, your interest in someone else can feel like loss before love ever had a chance to begin. That jealousy isn't a weakness. It's evidence. It shows she feels something real, something that matters, something that challenges her sense of control. She may act indifferent, but underneath, she notices when your focus shifts. She pays attention to who you're drawn to. She measures herself quietly, wondering if she holds your gaze the way another woman might. This isn't manipulation. This is emotion. This is the raw truth of attraction, unfiltered, uncomfortable, and deeply human. You must see this not as a game, but as a window, a moment that shows you what's hiding beneath the surface. When someone reacts to your interest in another, it's because your attention has value. That's what most men forget. Your presence is powerful, your focus is a gift, and the way others respond to it says everything about where their heart already is. If she didn't care, she wouldn't flinch. If she didn't feel something, your gaze wouldn't shake her. But it does. And that's not nothing. Still, you must handle that truth with grace. Not arrogance, not pride, not ego. Jealousy is a fragile thing. It means she's risking something internally, even if she's pretending not to feel it. So when you notice it, don't exploit it, don't test it. Simply let it confirm what's already been unfolding. Her guarded looks, her sudden silence, her interest dressed in distance. These are signs that you matter more than she's ready to admit. Understanding this empowers you. Because it proves attraction doesn't need to be spoken to be real. It exists in the emotional shifts, the protective glances, the uncomfortable questions asked too casually. When you see those moments, know that something deeper is already in motion. It's not a weakness to care. It's not desperation to feel protective. It's human nature unfolding in its purest form. You don't have to be loud to be noticed, and you don't need to force anything that's already happening. If your presence is enough to spark jealousy, it's also enough to inspire desire. So trust the emotional responses, even when they hide behind sarcasm or silence. They're not random, they're reflections, and they're pointing to something she may never say but already feels. Attraction often hides in the smallest words. A compliment that seems casual, a remark slipped between sentences, a statement that praises something more than just the obvious. When a woman feels drawn to you, she may not confess it directly, but she'll find ways to highlight what she sees and admires. And those compliments, especially when unexpected, speak volumes. It's not always about your looks. Often it's about your presence, your energy, your values, your voice, your way of being. She'll notice what others overlook. She'll reflect back pieces of you that you may have forgotten to see in yourself. This is one of the most honest forms of recognition, because it's easy to flatter someone for the sake of politeness. But when attraction is real, the praise becomes personal. It targets what's unique, what's authentic, what can't be copied. She may compliment your mindset, your calm, your focus, the way you listen, the way you speak. And while it might sound simple in the moment, the truth behind it is anything but. She's revealing what stands out to her, what draws her in, what makes you different from the noise. These words are not just words, they are emotional offerings, a way of saying I see you without risking too much, a way of creating closeness without demanding it. And the more subtle the compliment, the more honest it often is. Because it wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't forced. It came through because she couldn't hold it in. That's what real attraction does. It finds a way to express itself, even when someone's unsure of how it will be received. But the impact of these compliments depends on whether you allow yourself to receive them. Too many people deflect praise. They downplay it, they laugh it off, and in doing so, they shut down the emotional opening that could have led to something deeper. When someone sees something good in you and takes the risk to say it out loud, let that moment land. Let it be real. Let it remind you that who you are is already magnetic in ways you may not fully realize. This is how self-worth is built, not through arrogance, but through awareness. Through recognizing that when someone is moved to compliment you without being asked, it's because something in you made an impression. Something in you touched something in them. And no matter how small the words may seem, the feeling behind them carries weight. It carries truth. It carries potential. Attraction isn't always loud, but it always reveals itself in patterns. And when someone repeatedly notices and speaks to the things that make you who you are, it's because you've already captured her attention. You've already entered her mind. You've already made her feel something real. And when that happens, don't question it. Don't run from it. Simply see it for what it is, a quiet sign that your presence is already being felt and your value is already being seen. What you often miss in the noise of daily life is the way her curiosity rises when she truly feels something for you. Not surface-level curiosity, not just casual questions or polite small talk. It's a deep and focused interest that subtly intensifies over time. When a woman is attracted, her mind begins to seek out the parts of you that are hidden from everyone else. She wants to know more, not because she needs to, but because she wants to. That desire to understand your world, your thoughts, your past, your values, it's not random. It's a sign that you've stirred something real inside her. This kind of attention is not scattered or mechanical, it's intentional. She listens more closely. She remembers things most people forget. She brings up details you mentioned in passing because they mattered to her, and that's what attraction does. It makes people care about the things they otherwise wouldn't notice. Her questions might not always sound profound, but the frequency, the tone, and the consistency behind them reveal what's happening on an emotional level. She doesn't want to just observe you from a distance. She wants access to your truth, to the real version of you that few people get to see. You can feel this shift when you slow down and pay attention, when her eyes hold a question a little longer, when her silence feels full of listening, when her follow-up questions go deeper than the surface. That is not coincidence. That's emotional gravity in motion. And the more connected she feels, the more she invests her attention in the invisible details that define you. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because something about you already impressed her on a deeper level. The power in recognizing this is that it helps you stop chasing validation. You stop performing. You stop trying to earn someone's interest through effort. Instead, you learn to trust what's already unfolding naturally. When someone's curiosity deepens around you, that's attraction evolving. It's not just chemistry, it's emotional investment. And emotional investment is the foundation of everything meaningful. You don't have to be flashy to be magnetic. You just have to be real. You just have to stand in your truth long enough for the right person to notice. Because when she feels something powerful in your presence, her mind can't help but explore it. Her heart can't help but lean in. That's what real connection looks like. It doesn't scream. It asks, it listens, it seeks. Let that be your sign. When a woman starts to care about the parts of you no one else asks about, you've already made a deeper impact than most. And that kind of curiosity doesn't fade easily. It lingers, it grows. And if you nurture it with presence and authenticity, it turns into something that doesn't just attract, it transforms. There's a kind of energy that doesn't need to be spoken. A shift in the air when you walk into a room. A glance that lingers a little too long. A pause that holds meaning even when no words are exchanged. When a woman feels something real for you, her body begins to communicate before her mind gives permission. Her posture changes. Her eyes track your movements with silent focus. Her presence leans into your space, not forcefully, but naturally. Because attraction, real attraction, always finds a way to be felt, even when it's unspoken. Most men look for the obvious signs. They wait for bold gestures, for confessions, for declarations. But the truth lives in the subtle. It lives in the way her energy aligns with yours when you speak, the way she mirrors your expressions, the way her tone softens when she responds, the way her guard lowers, not by choice, but by instinct. That's what raw chemistry does. It bypasses logic. It shows itself in movements and signals too fast for conscious thought to control. Her subconscious speaks even when her words are guarded. And if you know how to feel it, you'll see more truth in a 5-second look than in hours of conversation. You don't need to overanalyze. You just need to stay present. You just need to notice what most people ignore. When she's drawn to you, she won't always say it, but her body will pull her closer. Her eyes will find you first in a crowd, and her attention will lock in without needing permission. These are not random actions. These are signals. Pure, human, instinctive signals that reveal what the heart is still learning to process. And this is where confidence is born, not from ego, but from awareness, from knowing that your presence alone can shift someone else's emotional state, that you don't have to force connection, you just have to allow it. You just have to remain grounded in who you are, while her energy quietly confirms that she feels something real. When her body language opens, when her face lights up when she sees you, when she angles herself toward you in conversation, even in a crowded room, that's not performance. That's pull. That's emotional resonance in physical form. Let go of the need to be convinced. Let go of the doubt that whispers you're not enough. The way she positions herself around you, the way her presence changes when you're near, those things matter. They carry meaning, and they only happen when something within her feels safe, seen, or stirred. You don't have to chase that. You just have to recognize it, because once you do, you realize the truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's simply her presence telling you what her words haven't yet found the courage to say. And when you listen to that language, you no longer need to question whether she's interested. You already know. Attraction is rarely about perfection. It's about presence. And nothing pulls a woman in more deeply than a man who owns his energy, calm, grounded, centered. When you're not trying to impress, not chasing approval, not looking outside of yourself for validation, something inside her responds to that. It feels different. It feels safe, yet exciting. There's no need for noise or exaggeration. Your stillness speaks louder than words. Your emotional control signals strength. And strength, real strength, isn't about dominance. It's about composure. It's about knowing who you are and not being shaken by who you're not. This kind of presence is rare. Most people are either hiding or performing. But when you drop both, when you stop trying to be something and just become fully present in the moment, you radiate something magnetic, something she notices before she understands why. It's the way you hold eye contact, not to intimidate, but to connect. The way you listen without interrupting, not to fix her, but to feel her. The way you don't flinch when emotions rise. That's the mark of a man who has met his own chaos and mastered it. And when a woman sees that kind of presence, her guard begins to lower. Emotional safety is one of the deepest psychological triggers for attraction. And emotional safety doesn't mean being soft. It means being solid. It means being a space where she doesn't have to hide, a space where she can be both strong and vulnerable without fear of judgment. That kind of energy is rare because it requires work. Inner work, self-awareness, emotional discipline. But when you bring that to the table, she feels it, not logically, emotionally. Her body knows before her mind can explain it. She finds herself drawn to your calm in the middle of noise, your confidence in the middle of doubt, your clarity in a world that feels cloudy. This isn't about pretending to be stoic. It's about truly being grounded, about trusting yourself enough to not overreact, overexplain, or overcompensate. Because the moment you stop trying to prove something, people start to lean in. That's when you become magnetic. That's when she starts to notice not just what you say, but how you make her feel safe, seen, steady. And here's the truth. Presence is a skill. It's not given, it's built. Through discipline, through awareness, through choosing not to be ruled by impulse, through breathing deeper when tension rises, through staying centered when others spiral. That's what makes you stand out. That's what makes you unforgettable. You don't need to say much when your presence says everything. And when she feels that presence, her instincts tell her she's near someone different. Someone who doesn't need attention but earns respect. Someone who doesn't demand attraction but inspires it. Be that presence. Build it from within, and you'll never have to chase connection again. It will find you, quietly, powerfully, naturally. Because nothing is more attractive than a man who knows his own power and doesn't need to flaunt it. She doesn't just notice your presence. She notices how you treat the world around you when you think no one's watching. The way you speak to people who can't offer you anything in return. The way you hold yourself when pressure rises. The way you respond to disrespect, not with rage, but with unshakable poise. These moments, small and easily overlooked, are where true attraction grows. Because a woman who's in touch with her own worth isn't searching for flash. She's scanning for substance, for depth, for consistency. And every time you choose integrity over image, your value increases in her eyes, even if she never says a word. Attraction is not about being perfect. It's about being trustworthy. When your actions match your words, when your values are more than surface level talk, when you stay aligned even when it's inconvenient, that's when she starts to feel something deeper. Not just interest, not just curiosity. Respect. And respect is the root of all meaningful desire. Because respect creates emotional gravity. It draws people closer without needing force. It creates safety without removing the spark. And most of all, it signals that you are a man she can admire, not just desire. You want her to look at you and see someone who leads himself before trying to lead anyone else. Someone who knows what he believes in and doesn't betray that for attention. That kind of man doesn't chase approval. He lives by a code. And when you live by a code, the right people feel it. Not because you talk about it, but because it shows up in the way you move through the world, in the way you own your mistakes instead of hiding them, in the way you stay calm when others are loud, in the way you create peace without needing to prove power. This kind of consistency is rare, and rare is attractive, because it signals strength in the most undeniable way. It shows her you're not just a moment of interest. You're a man worth remembering. A man she doesn't have to second guess. A man who brings clarity, not confusion. And that clarity becomes magnetic. It makes her trust her own instincts around you. It makes her lean in, not because she's unsure, but because something in her feels safe to explore deeper. You don't need to be the loudest man in the room. You just need to be the realist. You just need to show, day in and day out, that you are exactly who you appear to be. Because when she senses that your character is solid, when she feels that your actions align with your words, her attraction shifts. It becomes rooted. It moves from curiosity to connection. And in a world full of masks, the man who dares to be consistent becomes unforgettable. Not because he tried to impress, but because he chose to be something real. And that realness becomes impossible to ignore. There is something undeniably attractive about a man who knows how to listen, not just hearing words, but truly listening. With his eyes, his body language, his presence. A man who listens doesn't interrupt to be heard. He doesn't wait for his turn to speak. He isn't trying to win a conversation. He's absorbing. He's receiving. He's making the other person feel like, for those few moments, nothing else in the world matters more than understanding them. And that kind of attention is rare. It's healing. It's disarming. It's powerful in ways most men will never understand, because most men are too busy trying to be interesting instead of being interested. When you really listen, you give more than your time. You give your energy. And energy is what women feel. It's not about having the perfect thing to say. It's about making her feel seen without judgment, heard without interruption, and understood without fixing. That kind of connection breaks barriers. It's not a game. It's not a trick. It's a reflection of maturity, of emotional intelligence, of quiet confidence. And that creates an emotional echo that stays long after the conversation ends. Attraction starts in the body, but it's sealed in the mind. If she feels emotionally connected to you, that attraction deepens. It becomes more than physical. It becomes meaningful. She remembers how you made her feel. She remembers that your attention didn't feel conditional. She remembers that your presence wasn't about impressing her. It was about honoring the moment. That level of presence isn't common. It requires discipline. It requires removing the need to perform. It requires patience, and patience, especially in a world rushing to speak, is deeply attractive. She notices when your eyes don't drift, when your body doesn't fidget, when your energy isn't elsewhere. That kind of focus feels like safety. It makes her feel valued, not as a prize, but as a person. And in a world full of noise, a man who offers peace through presence stands out without trying. He gives her the space to express, to be, to relax into the moment. And when a woman relaxes in your energy, when she feels no pressure to impress or entertain, that's when true connection begins to form. It's easy to talk. It's easy to fill silence with noise. But a man who knows the strength in silence, the power in stillness, the value of holding space without needing to fix, he becomes unforgettable. Because he's not chasing connection, he's allowing it. And that makes all the difference. You don't need to say more, you need to mean more. Let your presence speak what your words can't. Let her feel that you're not just hearing her, you're with her. Fully, genuinely, quietly powerful. That's what draws her in. Not the volume of your voice, but the depth of your listening. And when she feels that, she sees you differently, not just as a man, but as a space she wants to return to, again and again. There's a kind of presence that doesn't demand attention, but commands it. It doesn't raise its voice or try to dominate a room. It moves quietly, confidently, with purpose. It speaks through body language before words are even spoken. And that presence is magnetic. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about removing what's false and standing strong in what's real. Confidence, not arrogance. Calm, not passivity. Intentional energy. That's what draws people in without effort. That's what women notice before you even speak. Your posture speaks. Your eyes speak. The way you carry yourself in silence, the way you react when no one's watching, these things matter. They reveal how grounded you are in yourself. And grounding is rare. Most people are scattered, uncertain, overly reactive. But a man who walks with intention, who's rooted in who he is, creates emotional gravity. He doesn't chase attention because he knows his presence is enough. He doesn't try to entertain, impress, or persuade. He simply shows up with authenticity. And authenticity is attractive because it's safe. It's clear. It's real. There's nothing more compelling than someone who is fully at peace with himself. Not perfect, not fearless, just centered. Comfortable in his own skin, comfortable with silence, comfortable with being observed without shrinking or performing. That kind of inner stillness sends a message: I know who I am. I don't need to prove it. And when a woman feels that, her defenses lower. Her interest grows. Because it's not just about what you say, it's about the energy you bring into a room, the emotion you make her feel without needing to try. Every movement, every pause, every glance becomes a language of its own. You don't have to be loud to be noticed. You don't have to be aggressive to be respected. What matters is alignment, your energy matching your intention. No hidden agenda, no overcompensation, just presence. You're not trying to be someone, you already are someone. And that shift in energy changes everything. When you embody that kind of centeredness, attraction becomes a natural byproduct. Not because you're doing anything to get it, but because you've stopped doing things that block it. You've let go of trying to be impressive and stepped into simply being present. That presence says more than any pickup line ever could. It says, I'm here, I see you, I see myself, and I'm not afraid of being seen. Women pick up on that, not with logic, but with instinct, not with sight, but with sensation. And when they feel that certainty, when they sense that calm, they lean in, not because you forced it, but because your energy gave them permission to. That's real attraction. That's the quiet power of masculine presence. You don't have to talk your way into connection. You just have to show up as you are, with nothing to prove and everything to offer. That is the kind of presence that makes her remember you. Not for what you did, but for how you made her feel.